Yes, people, it's me, the one like Judi Love, and welcome to our table. We'll be having some great conversations and celebrating the excellence of creatives. It's time for us to sit at the table together, enjoying great food and great conversation. So whether you're a seasoned pro or an aspiring new artist, you're welcome to our table. It's so nice to have you all here at our table and gonna delve into some good conversation and some good food. And I went straight to the food, didn't I?
Yes.
Like, because, come on, am I the only one sitting here thinking?
No. We've been smelling it.
We've been smelling this, and you know us, it's all about the food. So, okay, look, let's not waste our time.
Yes, this is red snapper. And you know, as I mentioned to you before, is what I love about Caribbean food is that it's so full of flavour. So I don't want to change it. And you know, I really respect the chefs that are kind of, you know, doing these really gastronomic things. But for me, I think that Caribbean food is full of such bold flavours that just really needs celebrating and championing and should be on the world food stage and kind of really sung about. So that's what I want to do. Is I'm not trying to change the wheel. I'm just kind of saying, come and have a closer look at the wheel.
And then we've got the lovely pepper sauce.
Yes, I've got my pepper sauce and my plantain jam, which I've just released, which are now available online. So I've taken my hot sauce, which is pretty spicy, and I've blended through it some sweet jackfruit and some mango. It makes it really fresh, so that'll go with the plantain crisps.
One of the things what really brings forward like information, or where I've connected with a lot of people, is on social media. I think that's where I saw you on TV, then I saw more of your personality on social media. How has social media impacted you guys' creativity and actually broadened, if it has broadened your audience, or do you find it like a challenge to deal with it?
So for me, it's quite interesting because I was like a professional dancer before using social media quite heavily, and now my career is literally based around social media. And like,
you're massive on social media. You're in it. Like, we're talking about millions. I love the humbleness.
a little something. I try.
I wish I had those numbers.
I always say though, it's pressure with the numbers because it's eyes all of a sudden. Like when I was doing my thing before people were watching, you're free to be creative.
Really?
You know, whatever degree. But like now when there's eyes, you think about, you have to consider this.
Everything.
Yeah, you're cautious about everything. And
when you say eyes, do you mean eyes of people that might want to book you, or, you know, because of everything's going in society? When you say eyes, or is it just pressure on yourself to get the numbers?
Internal eyes, external eyes,
all the eyes.
you know, potential booking, all the eyes, exactly. Potential bookings, your audience now that expect a certain thing from you. Like, there's so many different layers, but at the same time, it's like, you also have eyes to perform in front of and like introduce something new to that maybe they wouldn't have seen. Like for me, I do Afrobeats and dancehall here and there, but Afrobeats mainly, and it's nice to be able to introduce that to people that would have never listened to it.
You African?
I'm African, I'm West
Okay,
African.
are you?
Yeah, I'm Nigerian.
I thought I was getting West African on here. That's so strange because we normally dominate everything, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually the only one, so I'm glad that.
No, I'm here. People think
Were you feeling lonely?
No, not really.
Really?
It was just nice and interesting because I don't usually have this dynamic of no,
Baby, we're
hardly
all
ever.
African.
We are all Africans. Thanks for saying that. Finally.
You know, can I just ask you this question, because you've mentioned like dancehall and, you know, and Afrobeats. Is Afrobeats like taking over now? Like, is that the culture when we think about music within the black community? It has done. It's done really well.
Because I grew up with dancehall being my only real connect in this country, and then eventually when Afrobeats finally started to creep in, it was like, oh wait, hold up. Oh, there we go, our own little shine.
Like we have arrived.
We've arrived. Like
We
kids now in school doing like Afrobeats and Amapiano trends. And when I was in school, that was not even, you couldn't fathom it.
And I think Africanness in general is really being celebrated, which is a beautiful thing to see.
No,
you know.
be African now.
I mean, no, I'm happy being Jamaican. But I respect, obviously, the African culture, and I enjoy Afrobeats, Amapiano. I love it all. I do. But I feel as if, as you were saying, that when we were growing up younger, it was more that we were awakened or more into the Caribbean bashment kind of side of things. And then now, as we get older, it's like we've got the Afrobeats, we've got a mix of everything. We've even got like the Afrobeat artists mixing with the Caribbean artists, which is even amazing to see.
I think it's a bit of like, unfortunately, there was a division and a lack of education of actually, like you said, we're all African and having that understanding. I think for me, it's from young, for me actually, I had family members that had traveled to Ghana. So I've always had that interest, even though my family was very Jamaican. So I had that interest from a family member, like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, we're African, I want to go there. And then a lot of my boyfriends were either Ghanaian or Nigerian.
Really?
Yeah, I never had a Caribbean boyfriend until I was much older. So that was what I always thought I was going to have children with a Ghanaian, dark-skinned prince. I mean, sorry, I'm going off track. But yeah. Or, my longest term boyfriend was with a Nigerian boyfriend. So I always had that connect. But as you get older, I think you, depending on the individual, you go on a much personal journey about your connection to what is home to you. And I think that's really important in our community, because I find from other communities, if you ask them, where's your granddad from? They will tell you he was a Viking. They will tell you all of the legacies and the history in the background, but we can only stop at my mum's from St. Anne's in Jamaica. Do you get what I'm saying? I think it's really important for us to
And you know what? And I think it's, not to kind of get too negative, but you got to remember that our history was systematically erased. So, this wasn't accidental, how we don't know or kind of don't feel a connection to where we're coming from, is that was erased from us. So we're just kind of finding that story and attaching to it and going, oh yeah.
I think what's really important now is that social media, a lot of people have made their careers on social media, but I think what social media has done for us as Black people is it's democratized how we speak to each other, from islands to continents, etc., etc. And I find that part of social media really liberating. That it's like what you said before, it's like, what is it? Someone making Afro beats can make a music video in Jamaica or in Grenada, with a soca artist. And so it's really funny for me now, it's like London used to be a Caribbean city. It's now a Nigerian city with a Caribbean attitude.
You're happy for that?
It's very much,
Yeah. So what impact has social media had for you within your amazing career? That was a sigh.
Audible.
It's been strange for me because usually photographers or directors are behind the camera and people don't recognize them. So you can go about your business and walk the street and everything. But then the impact that the work that I have made has been that people stop me in the street and they say things like, thank you for making the things that you make for us. And that took me a while to get used to. And then, it's like being in America and people doing the same thing there, then that's the thing that really blew my mind.
Do you think that, for you, social media is important as much as it is for the younger generations coming up, for us already kind of in the middle of our career, and it doesn't matter whether you're a comedian, a filmmaker, a choreographer, it's how important it is to actually get your work out there?
Oh, absolutely. It's back in the day you needed your publicist to get your stuff out to the newspapers, the magazines, the radio, whatever. And now you could literally do it all through social media. And without social media, without, people that follow me, that like my work, who then tell other people about the work wouldn't get out.
I think that is definitely one of the powers of social media and actually making your own and creating your own, is that it does show other channels and commissioners and people in the industry that actually there is an audience, and it's not just the Black audience. There's, we're living in a world now where you can have a best friend live across the waters, but you can speak to them every day. So that shows that people are entwined when it comes to cultures. We've got, relationships from different backgrounds happening. And and really, like, that stands out to me. I've got friends and families who, when they talk about their grandparents, like, they made friends with sailors and people that came over in the Windrush. You know, one family was white, one was Irish, one was Turkish, and they still knew each other from 50s. So these intertwined cultural relationships has been happening, and people are opening to understanding more of us. And I think social media helps with that. Like, Shea, your social media has definitely had an impact, would you say, with your career?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Especially because for myself, I've been in the nail industry for just over 20 years now. So
You look way too young.
I started doing nails when I was 14.
Really?
Yeah, so I started doing nails when I was 14. My mum used to go to the nail shop. You know, your mum's just living in a nail shop.
Yeah.
So I went with her to the nail salon, and since then, that's how my passion grew, because I've always been an artistic person. I've never really much been into education as much, but I was more into art. That was like my flair. So
Was that ever challenged when you was younger? Regards
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Telling your parents that travelled over, no, I want to go
Yeah.
and paint and take pictures
and do nails.
and make people laugh.
Yeah, after you brought me here. Are you crazy? No, so even up to now, I just got back from Jamaica about 3 weeks ago, and my eldest brother, because we went for his wedding, he was like, so are you going to go to uni? I was like, babe, I'm a big age. I don't want to go to uni. He was like, no, you're going to end up wanting to go to uni. I said, no, I don't think that's really for me right now, you know? But yeah, I will say social media has helped a lot for me, because I started posting, you know, when Instagram had like the filters.
Oh my God, same. That's when I started as
Where
well.
was that? Where was I?
This,
You were there.
Oh, was I there? Yeah. I weren't that advanced.
And we were posting anything at that time. I know at that time it was just like it didn't matter what you put on there. Like you could kind of just have a free flow of whatever you felt like, and just whatever you wanted to post on there, it was fine. But now, where obviously the Wicked movies come out, obviously I've done the nails for Cynthia and stuff like that.
Let's just say that again. All right, Shea, you did the nails for Cynthia in Wicked.
I did, yes.
Okay, what we've got, you know, innit? Like, woo!
Thanks.
My daughter
Yes.
went in to school
Yep.
in World Book Day
Yes.
dressed.
So did mine.
Yeah.
So did mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to paint her face green. I
Yeah,
had to,
yeah, same thing.
I had to do it all for her.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And it's so nice to see, you know, that kind of representation is so important.
Yes.
Like what that does for your kind of sense of self and who you can become is so powerful. And, you know, you don't know what you haven't got when you haven't got it. But when we're now seeing the youngsters having that...
Dom, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I grew up literally, you know, stone's throw from here. Yeah, Shepherd's Bush was my manor, and it was like, we knew that we missed stuff. We were always questioning stuff, always getting into trouble at school. You know, it's like, you know, why is Jesus white? Get a rap on the knuckles with, you know, from a nun. You know, it's like I always question. I always knew there was something.
And that's really
missing.
interesting because, you know, like as I've got older and wiser, and I look back, I realize I was a very naive child. Yeah. So I just accepted a lot of things as they were. So like even the other day I was doing like one of these online courses, and it's about kind of vision boards and having a vision for yourself. And as I went through the first module, it asked me what was my idea of wealth. And I had no idea what kind of house I'd buy, what kind of car, what country it would be in, would it be on the water? And I thought, how do you try to achieve something you can't even visualize? And if someone had asked me, Dom, like, what would you be like if you were rich? I'd be like, of course I know what I'm gonna do with my money. I had no idea what kind of house I'd buy. So that means that I've got, my vision was no further than the estate I lived on, and maybe, you know, my idea of wealth would be, all right, I'd get a townhouse in Peckham or Brixton. Do you know what I mean?
Not now, these prices.
That was the height of my idea of, well, there's people living different lives, buying islands. And,
I think,
do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of that comes from, I think, the naivety not for more, but from the generation that brought us into this world. I think for them, it was a state of survival.
It was a state of survival.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was a state of like, let's keep the peace. Let's just kind of keep your head down and keep going. And it's not, you know, sometimes having a conversation or getting re-educated is not you being like volatile or aggressive, or, you know, it's just you trying to find some understanding of what you should have and could have and entitled to. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's really important. Entitled to, you know, and I think we are changing that kind of narrative.
100%. I tell my children now, don't let anyone dim your light.
Yes.
Know who you are and know the household that you come from.
And that's why it's great having people from different backgrounds like yourself as a nail technician that has been on one of the biggest movies. Of when you got that phone call to say, like, where was you, what was you doing, who was you with?
I was at home sitting on my sofa, and I think I was having a cup of tea at the time. And
British in you.
British, living in Essex, you know, you just got to live the lifestyle, babe. But yeah, and I was sitting on the sofa, got the phone call just to confirm everything, and I was like, you like for real? She was like, yeah. Like Cynthia doesn't want anyone else anyway to do her nails because I've been doing her nails for such a long time. Yeah. So we've been doing her nails for about 14, 15 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we've like built our relationship off of nails, and then we became friends, and then it's just always been like that ever since, you know.
But did you know how big that was going to mean?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because it's everywhere.
Yeah. Because I've worked on other like previous projects with her as well. You know, I've worked on Luther with her. Wow. But these things as well, when I look at it, I'm like, I didn't expect it, because for me, I'm looking at it's work. That's how I look at it. But on the outset, it's something much bigger than what you know, and this is where imposter syndrome comes in, right?
Does. And this is where as well we have to be really careful how we speak into our lives, others' life and children's life, about what is seen as successful or big. Because you would think, like, someone might say, oh, you're a nail technician. If you took any negativity from anybody about that, it could be just boxed into just something.
Yes.
You know, like when someone, oh, how's your little project going on? Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's really important to speak life.
But it's funny that you
into what
say
you do.
that. So when I was about 8 or 9, I said to my auntie that I want to be a chef when I'm older. And she just quite casually goes, oh, there's no money in that. That stuck in my mind. For my whole adult life, you know, my growing up. And that created such a limiting idea about what this could be for me. And, you know, I was able to break through that. Obviously, I kind of got to a place where I was like, no, she don't know nothing. Sorry, Auntie Bev.
Sorry, Auntie Bev.
But they all did that.
Yes.
You know, it's you know, I remember thinking to myself, okay, I want to do something in the creative field. And I remember my dad used to, my dad used to run the part of the telephone exchange in Shepherd's Bush, which meant that when Queen's Park Rangers down the road played live games, he would have to couple it up so you have sound in your TV.
Wow.
That's what he was in charge of, yeah? So then I got to 16, my dad was like, so what are you going to do? You're going to stay at school? Or if not, you're going to come and work with me at British Telecom. And I was like, well, Dad, I want to go to art college to do graphic design. He's like, you want to do what?
Art college?
You want to do what? You want to go and smoke weed and play with boys?
Oh,
and I was like, I have no.
Why was our parents laughing?
I have no
lucky.
interest
I didn't
in
have-
either.
I didn't have that at all.
I was going to say,
I didn't have that at all. I didn't have
Really?
my mum. So my dad passed away when I was 12 years old, but my mum was very just do what you want to do. So I didn't even going to the creative industry wasn't even a problem for her at all. I didn't have anyone, and it's very unusual for Nigerian parents, especially because we all meant to be doctors and lawyers and accountants and all that.
Yeah.
And my mum was, oh, you know, when I said to her, I mean, I only went into fashion because my best friend went into fashion.
yeah, you had a real journey because you did fashion first.
Exactly,
before.
and I had no idea about the fashion industry at all. My best friend wanted to go to London College of Fashion. I was like, okay, me and her so close. I can't imagine never being with her. So I'm like, okay, I will apply to London College of Fashion. We got in, but I was doing music before that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you was in your little Mary J.
I how much I thought I would be the next Mary J.
We
But I
all-
was, nobody could have told me that was not going to
But
happen.
could you do the dance? Could you?
that.
Or did you have your
I had
own?
my own style. I don't know what style.
You had your own
I
style.
had my own style, but I just knew. I remember looking at Mary J. and thinking, okay, she's good. I feel like I can do better than this.
Hey!
I don't know if anybody. I mean, that's how.
Mary, you're invited to our table next time.
Plus, I'm Nigerian. Nigerian
babes.
are very, very like we can do anything.
Yes.
Like, there's no one stopping us from doing anything.
And we love that.
And then I think after a few years of trying, I was like, okay, nothing is happening. Like, it's not going to be.
And then you went
I
into
just,
fashion.
Yeah,
So
and I just carried on in
I
fashion.
was reading that you got into art like much later. Is it over
Much
40
later.
years?
And funny enough, art was something I didn't even like. I
Really?
did not like the art industry at all. The last time I did art was GCSEs, and I remember thinking, oh, this takes so long. You know, the teacher would be like, oh, you know, you're painting an apple, and like there's like blues and greens and pinks and all these different colors. And I'm like, all I saw was a green apple. But you know, they're like, try and bring these colors, and I hated it. I hated the whole process of how long it was to create art.
So what took place that made that shift?
The
in-
switch was, I remember distinctively when it happened. I was in the car with my daughter, and Samson Saboya, which is a good friend of mine and Simon's, and me and Samson's a fashion designer in the industry, and we wanted to produce a show in Shoreditch that was celebrating Black African designers, and it was going to be called Africa at Saboya. And I'm just sitting in the car, like, I want to design a flyer for it that really symbolized what we look like. And my daughter was sitting next to me in the car, and I was talking to her about it, and she said, oh, Mum, there's an app for that. There's an app you can use. And I was like, what's an app? Like, I don't know. Obviously, I was not on social media at all. And then she sat down, took my phone, and then started putting this together. And I was telling her, and I was like, what? I was like, you did that on the phone? And I remember I got home, and I was so excited, and I just started creating, and it allowed my imagination as a stylist, which is what I was at that time. I was so limited in what I could do with Black models, you know. And I
When you
saw
say
how
limited, regards
well,
to
I just couldn't style them and really represent us the way I would want to. So they had a specific style that they wanted. They wanted to see Black women portrayed as. They wanted us to be as Western as we want as they could, you know, or you get a dark skinned model against a white model, and it was like the juxtaposition between that. And to me, in my head, it was like Beauty and the Beast, rather than trying to celebrate Black beauty and white beauty. It's like, oh, look at how gorgeous this white model is next to this dark girl, rather than seeing the beauty in that. And I wanted to celebrate that. And I was going to Nigeria back and forth a lot, and again, you go to Africa and there's so much culture and vibrancy and colours and boldness. And I was like, you know, I'd come back to London, like, oh my God, this is missing. So I started creating through collages of the models I wanted to work with, the fashion designers I wanted to work with, the kind of stars I wanted to work with. I started collaging it together into these pieces to get better fashion jobs, styling jobs. And I found myself just loving it, you know, loving the process and loving how it made me feel. And that was my first stint into social media, because again, I was in my 40s when I went into social media.
And what was your first collection?
What fashion collection?
Well, no, art.
So it was called This Is Me, and it was really, this is who I am. So it was taken in, you know, fashion pieces I had at home, designers I'd worked with, fashion models I'd worked with. Like, this is, if I could show people who Caroline is, this is it. You know, this is my culture. This is us. This is being African and being Western and being European. This is what it looks like. And it was something you just don't see on television. You know, you always see the other side of what it is to be Black.
In recent years, a lot of work has been done. You know, a lot of
Don't you
work.
think it's because of social media? That
Yeah.
And the internet in general.
I think the internet, and I think
it's been a
people as well.
contributing factor.
Yeah, because myself, as I said, I dated Nigerian and Ghanaian young men, and I'll be real, there was friends and family members that was much like, and it was very, I never could understand it. I was just like, what do you mean? Like, and I think, so there was some people like that. There was some people who was very Afrocentric, even though they were like West Indian. And then we've got the arts, and then we've got social media. And I think it's just got to a stage, and obviously Afrobeats coming in has got to a stage where it's just like, guys, what have we been doing all these
And I
years
think
being
it's
separated?
I think it's about education, because you know what you got to realize is before the internet, how would that information have travelled to the Caribbean or back to Africa about
It was
what
gate-kept.
happened? Do you know what I mean?
It was completely gate-kept.
Even when you think about kind of Africa and kind of what we've learned about Africa in the last 20 years, has opened your eyes.
don't live in trees.
So it's not trees and flies on faces.
Literally.
There's whole like Senegal Senegal, I think, is one of the healthiest countries in the world.
Wow. With a beautiful
Why is
pink-
no one talking about that?
pink river,
Like,
it's lovely.
people are exercising on the beach, like men, women, children. Like, how is that not talked about?
How do for you for younger generation?
Yes. I've been very quiet.
With this topic, like, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like do you even acknowledge or knew that there was this kind of divide?
So yeah, it's been very interesting listening to.
Do you remember asking
everyone.
how old you are?
How old do you think I am?
And you're lusciously like,
we're gonna go there.
20. Let me say it without no anger and jealousy on my face.
No.
About 23, 22.
I wish. Guys, I'm 29.
Wow.
Yes.
Only 29.
And we're just like, wow, that's still 20 years.
I'm not going to say maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, so am I.
And then 2 years older. So.
Yeah.
Good.
So
I'm
a
actually
millennial.
28 and a half.
Yeah. The work
I can see.
has been 20.
Yeah.
So for you, how would you say it's different?
So
or-
for me, I feel like, so I was on the tail end of it. Like when I was in primary school, there was still very much like the Caribbean supremacy of like, if you're black, you want to be Caribbean. You don't want to be African because everyone's making fun of you. So
Oh, so you guys went through that.
yeah, but I was on the tail end. I was still very young.
Yeah,
so
but
like,
we always found out who was African. You know
Yeah.
when? Parents' evening.
that's exactly what
my
happened. That's exactly what
gosh.
happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True.
Mummy would come
literally.
walking in.
Yeah. Literally.
Or daddy will come walking in.
Basta Bogo.
So when I was younger, I had a best friend that was actually Jamaican, and like even the way like interactions would happen between us two, you noticed from a young age that okay, there's a separation here, but you know we loved each other regardless. But obviously our families had opinions about where each of us was from. Like sometimes my mum would be a bit wary of sending me to her house because obviously she would get in trouble sometimes. So she thought it was like a household thing when actually it was just an individualistic thing. Like it was just her, you know, it wasn't like all Jamaicans. But you go out of that really quickly. And obviously like in our church was quite mixed growing up. There was Caribbeans, there was Africans. So like from a young age, I kind of had at least some Caribbeans that I knew that I felt like were family. So I didn't really personally take on this separation, but I could see it happening. You grow up, you grow out of it. Obviously social media is happening at the same time. I think what didn't help when you're younger is a lot of Caribbeans used to say, well, I'm not African. They were so against being African. But then you go to Jamaica and everyone there is like, oh, you're from the motherland or you're from the father. So it's like,
You come back, you come to the West and they change your whole identity and
Exactly.
they make you feel like
exactly.
Not
So
worth.
I feel like people that haven't been able to travel, the internet has done what traveling would do for you.
Yes,
Is
yes,
it teaches
yes.
you see from the other side, you see that, oh wait, dancehall actually inspired some Afrobeats now,
Yes,
so obviously
yes,
introduced into dancehall a bit. We're collaborating all the time,
Collaborating.
all the time.
It's good to collaborate, and what's nice is I think we're collaborating. We're trying to understand our history a lot more,
Yeah.
but I can still be very proud and be like, I'm Jamaican.
Yes, exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
But I've looked at my roots and I know that I've got Ghanaian and
Exactly.
Shanti in me. So it's nice that we can stand firm.
Exactly. I think it's kind of cool as well. I'm Nigerian and Ghanaian, so I'm from like
Oh.
where Caribbeans
You
are
have
from
mixed
basically.
heritage.
Yes, mixed heritage. But it's kind of cool when I'm looking at Jamaicans specifically, like the similarities between
Ghana.
and Nigerians even. Like the way Jamaicans, I would say, are the Nigerians of Africa,
Yeah,
of
the
the
Jamaicans
Caribbean.
are
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
so similar, like very proud, but you know,
loud.
pros and cons, pros and cons. I'm Yoruba as well.
I swear they say
Yoruba.
Jamaicans are the rebels of the Caribbean.
I feel like they are. And even food.
I think they put all the Nigerians in
think so.
Jamaica.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I
They
just said
They
that.
did.
But
And the
I
food
do
as well.
think that like I've spent in the last 3 years, I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, and what I find is that there are certain islands where, like, you've just come back from Grenada, yeah, and when I'm in Grenada, I feel like Grenada is an African country in the Caribbean.
Really? A lot of these people
Yeah,
say so.
and also you've got a lot of the youngsters now who, you know, it's like a lot of the hairstyles, right? The way that people wear their hair, how they're naming their children, all of these things. Yeah, it's really, there's a lot, there's a lot of culture which is influenced by Africa, West African culture, which you can see day to day, and also within a lot of the customs as well. You know, even in Carnival, you know, the use of you know, like the mocha jumbis and you know and all of these things. You know, it's like you can trace it right the way back. So for me, there's a real link now and a big conversation going on between the Caribbean and Africa and Caribbean.
There's so much to it. I mean, with all of these things sometimes, for me, I don't know if you ever get into them, especially because social media, there's so much information put out there, and just life. There was times, I'd say like about a year, maybe about 6 months ago, I was in a place where I was like, oh, I don't know where I'm going, and I'm not sure what's next. I knew there was something, but I wasn't sure what the next step was, and it took a lot of process of like being still and praying and being around the right people, and I would see that as like a creative block. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you've had a creative block, and how have you kind of pushed yourself forward past it?
I mean, I'm going through that right now, where, I mean, as an artist, which I'm happy to call myself now, I went through years of not calling myself an artist.
Is that was that?
Well, only because I wasn't a trained artist, so coming into the
you have
industry.
to let that go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I did eventually.
There were people that said to me when I became a photographer, people told me I wasn't a photographer because I didn't train with such and such, and I didn't go to such and such school, and those were our own people. You know, it's like it's this whole thing of you know, imposter syndrome as black people, and it can be not even the arts, it can be anything. This thing of imposter syndrome, it's really endemic inside of us, you know, and we really have to lose it, because for as long as you hold on to that, it means that you're not walking in your full potential to make the work that you really want to make.
I mean, for me, I wasn't trained in arts, and it wasn't an industry that I understood. Even though I came from fashion, and people think the creative industry, they kind of know each other, and they really don't. It's two different worlds. You know, the fashion industry and the art industry is two different worlds. And because my style was very self-taught, I just didn't know where I fitted in. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what exhibitions I could show at. There was a lot I didn't know. And I wasn't even calling it art. So going back to what you asked about the impact of social media, even before that, the social media thing, social media made me an artist, because other people on social media were messaging me like, oh, I love your art. And I was like, I don't create art. Like, this isn't art to me. Art's objective though, is it? It's an individual. It's subjective, and you know, it was Dali. That was art. People that could get a paintbrush and paint. That was art. What I was doing.
Art is anyone who makes art is an
I mean,
artist.
now I have such a different appreciation. I was the person that would walk into a gallery or a museum and be like, oh my God, that's rubbish. What the hell's this? You know, I didn't know. Like, this is horrible. Like, why is everyone? That was me. Now I can walk into a gallery like, oh, you like it. Look at that. I stand back and I can appreciate abstract and stuff.
So you were saying you feel like now you're at a space where you wasn't.
I'm in a block. Yeah, because I've just moved studios, and I was going through knowing what I wanted to do, and the process was there. And then I had a moment where I had other things take over. You know, life became life, and life was life in, and it just stopped me. And I'm just at the point of, what do I do next? And I'm in a transition of my business where it's more than the art business. It's a lifestyle brand that I'm trying to create as well. How do I go about doing it? And, you know, who are the right people? So I'm just kind of like walking down the street and not knowing what I'm doing, you know?
Do you know what? Sometimes I think as artists, creatives, and from the perspective of a black woman, we're really quite heavy on ourselves about constantly going. Like, you know, obviously, you know, the stereotype of being a strong black woman, it puts us in a space where we don't allow ourselves to rest, we don't allow ourselves to be reflective, and we don't allow ourselves to actually say, at this moment, it's okay to not know. And for me, I just had to be still and sit with the feeling of like, I don't know. And I believe that when you don't know, it is almost like it's a stage of getting you prepared. It means that it's a research and it's a resetting. It's a research and a resetting. There's something coming, but it's allowing you to get rid of maybe the unsure.
I want to ask you, because I'm not sure what your age is. I'm not going to ask. But
I'm proud. I'm 44. Don't come to me though. If you're
I'm in my 50s, and I feel like time is ticking as well. Like, I feel like, how much time do I literally have in this industry? So that's another part of pressure I'm putting on myself, is that how long do I have before I can make this happen?
I think,
you know, so whenever I have that block, it scares me. Like, how long is the block going to last? Because how long do I have?
Yeah, I think it's about understanding that your art is of a lifetime.
I was about
Yes.
to say that. I feel like when it comes to art, it doesn't have an expiry date.
No, absolutely. In the
No.
terms of being creative, that's what's great about art is I can create forever. I can
Yes.
sit in my room, I can go to the beach, I can go to my garden, I can always create.
Yeah.
But there's the art in terms of creativity and doing it personally for yourself, but then there's the business side.
Yes.
It's like I'm also trying to,
How do you always feel
develop
seen?
the business and
Yeah.
grow it and take it to the point where I can sit back and be like, okay, I've got this brand that I've created.
you
and
have
I think
to-
that's the
but-
pressure.
Sorry.
please.
What you're doing at the moment, yeah, it's like every artist goes through it,
Yeah.
right? You have to go through it, right? So
100%.
it's your art isn't something that you do. You are the art, right? It runs in your blood.
You are the art.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me mess up this makeup now.
Yeah, you feel it running through your veins. Yeah, it's not your job. It's not something you do. Yeah, so when you are thinking and ruminating and marinating on what it is that you're doing, yeah, what happens in that moment is it affects every part of your life. Yeah, it's like it can cause. That's why artists have depressions. That's why some artists commit suicide. Yeah, because it is deeply ingrained in your psyche what you do and how you create. Yeah, but the thing is this, and I can tell you this because basically it's like I know that me pushing myself to a point was the point where cancer nearly killed me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was only when the surgeon saved my life and I was lying in bed for 18 months that I had the time to think, I was like, I'm motherfucking Simon Frederick. Sorry for swearing.
It's all right.
Yeah. And I was
You
like,
are motherfucking Simon Frederick.
yeah, and I was like, what? I don't have anything to prove to anybody. Yeah, it's like I have 3 films on Netflix. I have the show, it's like I have this collection in the National Portrait Gallery that made history. It's like people know my name. Like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to kill myself to prove what to who? Yeah, and it was only then in that moment that I was like, okay, right, I'm gonna go on a new path now, and the path is I'm gonna make just the things that I want to make. Yeah. If nobody else likes it, that's okay.
And you know what? In regards to when you said about time is ticking, I think what we have to take from that sentence is that we are still here to say time. So thinking of time, I need to ask you, if you could, what would be your superpower?
If I could, my superpower would be to travel to anywhere in the world and be able to speak any language and understand any language. And then I can communicate with anyone and everyone I want to communicate with.
Yeah.
Manifestation. Yeah, I'm very spiritual, and my manifestation powers is strong right now.
I love that.
Yeah, I think since I became an artist, it was like I finally found where I was meant to be.
I love that. I think for me, as being a comedian and building on like self-esteem now, my superpower would be I feel like I could walk into most rooms, any rooms, and be able to start up a conversation or have something, So I think that's my superpower.
A really cool superpower would be to be able to cook any technique. So yeah, there's some things that especially when you work with some really cool chefs who've got really great history, great experience, sometimes like you watch them cook and like they'll do something and you'll be kind of like, wow, like, the result. Because, it's all about science, isn't it? The other day I went to a Mexican restaurant and the pork belly was insanely soft. Like I said, I need to speak to the chef because, I know about 8 different techniques of cooking pork belly, but I said I didn't know pork could be so soft.
Let's not start on the pork.
It was
yeah,
insane.
It
It was insane. Yes,
I love
yes.
that. And yourself?
Mine would be to wake up and not be tired.
Oh, girl.
I would love that. I would love that I could just be on 1,000, on 100 at any given time, and just to be able to do what I can do without feeling tired.
Yeah.
I want to borrow your lot of superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, your one's good.
I love your Simon.
I think I already have a superpower, and I discovered it through my work. And my superpower is the ability to make people feel like they are seen. Yeah.
And you know what? Our superpower has been here together and having this great conversation. So yeah, it's been lovely being at our table. Let's cheers to that.
Thank you. I done off my wine.
You're done on your wine. Cheers.